Oh hi. Bolivia, the state in the central part of South America. Bolivia borders in the north and the northeast on Brazil, in the southeast on Paraguay. Has no outlet to the sea. In the south on Argentina, in the southwest and the west on Chile and Peru. As well as Paraguay, Bolivia has also no outlet to the sea. The first in territory South American country with such feature. However, in 2010 the contract with Peru on transfer to rent for 99 years of the small coastal site for construction of port is signed. From the Pacific Ocean, Bolivia is separated by only a little more than 100 km. Name of the country of Bolivia. Bolivia. Settled in the first decades of her independence. On the General Assembly of Deputies of the Provinces of Upper Peru. On August 6, 1825, independence of the Top Peru was declared. Alto Peru. On August 11, 1825, in honor of Simon Bolivar heading the Joint Army of the Liberator of Peru, the Republic of Bolivar was proclaimed. Republic of Bolivar. With possible use of names the Top Peru and the state of Upper Peru. Estado del Alto Peru. Offering the name of the country, the Congressman Manuel Martin Cruz said, "If from Romula there was Rome, then from Bolivar there will be Bolivia. C. D. Romulo Roma, D. Bolivar Bolivia." After the beginning of work on May 25, 1826 of the General Constituent Congress, Congreso General Constituyente, the name the Republic of Boliviana began to be used. República Boliviana, or Bolivia. Only since October 1, 1868 the official name of the country became the Republic Bolivia. República de Bolivia. On February 7, 2009, after entry into force of the existing constitution, plurinational state of Bolivia became the official name of the country. Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia, Cuecuav Bulia Otkanasiankanap Mamalacta. Wuli Waswu. Teta Bolivia. An acknowledgement of the multi-ethnic nature of the country and strengthening of a role of indigenous people of Bolivia. In the 14th century, the territory of modern Bolivia inhabited by tribes of Aymar, Quechua and others was won by the state of Inca. 1532-1538, the territory of modern Bolivia is won by the Spanish conquistadors led by Francisco Pizarro and Diego de Almagro. As a result of gain, several million Indians were exterminated. 1542-1776, as a part of the Spanish Vice Kingdom of Peru under the name de Top Peru. The territory of Bolivia is divided between the Spanish landowners. Indians are included in the system of an encomienda. 16th to 17th century, the Bolivian city of Potosi as a part of the Royal Audience Charcas was one of the most populated inhabitants. The cities of the Old and New World and the largest world industrial center. At the time of development of silver mines. 1776-1810 as a part of the Spanish Vice Kingdom of Rio de la Plata. 1825 independence of the Top Peru is declared. The country is renamed into Bolivia, by name Simon Bolivar. 1836-1839 Confederation of Peru and Bolivia. 1879-1883, the Second Pacific War with Chile, which ended with defeat and loss of an exit to the Pacific Ocean and control over fields of saltpeter in the Atacama Desert. 1903 is signed on November 17 the contract with Brazil on transfer of the territory to it, known as the State of Acre long ago. 1932-1935 unsuccessful Chakski War with Paraguay for the Chacobaril oil fields. 1952 the Bolivian Revolution, which laid the foundation for nationalization of the olivado-dubidashi industry by Victor Paz Estensora's government. 1964 a military coup headed by the General René Barrientos Ortuño. Later in 1966, René Barrientos Ortuño is elected the president constitutionally. 1966-1967 Ernesto Che Guevara with group of guerrillas tries to organize the insurgent movement with the purpose to overthrow ruling regime. October 1967 with the active help of CIA of the USA, the government army destroys Che Guevara's group. 1969 the President René Barrientos Ortuño perishes in plane crash. On September 26 as a result of a military coup, the General Alfredo Ovando Candia comes to the power. 1970 on October 7 as a result of a military coup, the left-adjusted officers headed by the General Juan José Torres come to the power. 1971 occurs on August 21 a military coup. The 187th since 1825. Headed by the Colonel Hugo Banzer Suarez. 1978 Hugo Banzer's resignation. The new president Juan Paredes Bond is overthrown on November 24 by military constitutionalists headed by the General David Padilla Arancibia. He will appoint holding a general election to 1979. 1979 on a general election on July 1 any of candidates didn't gain necessary number of votes. On August 8 military delegate the power to the interim president Walter Guevara. On November 1 power is seized by the Colonel Alberto Natchez, however having encountered general resistance, refuses the power. On November 17 the woman Lydia Gaylor Tejada becomes the new president for the first time in the history of the country. 1980 the candidate of the left forces Hernan wins on June 29 Suez Sales a general election. On July 17 the army makes a revolution, the General Luis Garcia Meza comes to the power. The far-right military and criminal mode of a Garcianism is set. 1981 on August 4 dictatorship Garcia Messi is overthrown as a result of the conflict in armed forces. The General Celso Torello becomes the president. 1982 on July 19 in the conditions of the escalating crisis the President Celso Torello delegates the power to the General Guido Vildoso. That brings together the National Congress elected in 1980 and on October 10 transfers the president's post to Hernan to Suez Sales. 1985, on elections most of the population voted for the former dictator Hugo Banzer, however most of deputies of the National Congress. In case none of candidates collected more than 50% of votes, the issue of presidency was resolved by the National Congress. Voted for the neoliberal who took the second place Victor Paz Estensorio became the president of the country for the fourth time. 1997, the president of the country is chosen Hugo Banzer. 1999, the water supply system. The World Bank and the Netherlands Company is privatized, the prices of water are inflated to a limit, it is forbidden to collect rainwater, there was a series of Massachusetts protests and street riots.
2003, so-called gas war, a series of Massachusetts protests and street riots, the main requirement of participants, nationalization of the gas industry and transition of control of her development to hands of the state. On June 10, 2005, the chairman of the Supreme Court, Eduardo Rodriguez, who replaced Carlos Meza, who resigned on June 5, became the interim head of Bolivia.
Under the Bolivian laws, in case of early resignation of the president of his power have to pass to the head of the upper house of parliament, in case of his rejection, to the speaker of the lower house. As both acting policy rejected the offer to hold a country post of the head, the power was accepted by person number 3 in the list, the chairman of the Supreme Court.
The reason of resignation of Carlos Meza were anti-governmental demonstrations which participants accused him of national economy crash and also made demands, nationalization of the oil and gas industry and introduction of amendments to the constitution of the country. On December 18, 2005, presidential elections at which the victory was won by the left-wing radical candidate Evo Morales heading the movement by socialism are held.
Evo Morales received 53.74% of votes. His separation from the closest rival Jorge Quiroga made more than 15%. For the first time, the Indian was elected the president of the country. Election of the president directly, but not the National Congress, happened for the first time since 1978.
At the same time, elections of 27 senators and 150 deputies to the National Congress took place. The movement for socialism received the steady majority.
On October 14, 2008, upon the demand of the right opposition, the referendum on the president's response from the post is held. Morales got support of 67% of voters and remained on the post.
On January 29, 2009, the Central Election Commission of Bolivia, after calculation of 83% of voices, reported that 61.67% of citizens of the country voted for the new constitution offered by Evo Morales.
According to her, the state secures control over key sectors of economy. Reserves of gas and other natural resources are proclaimed national property.
The new constitution also cancels the status of Catholicism as official religion and considerably expands the rights of aboriginals of the country, Indians. Besides Spanish, the status of state is received by languages of all Indian nationalities of the country.
Also, imposition of the restriction of the amount of land possession, obligatory studying of languages of Indian nationalities, the state control over key sectors of economy is provided. All stocks of natural resources will have to turn into national property. According to the new constitution, the parliament of the country will include groups of ethnic minorities. Besides, it is offered to esteem at the state level the goddess of agriculture and fertility of ancient Indians, Tupacamam.
The decision on deprivation of Catholicism of the status of the state religion caused sharply negative reaction of the Bolivian episcopate and conservative circles in Vatican.
The new constitution lifted the ban to be elected twice in a row to the president's post.
2009, on June 10, the President Morales signed the decree according to which Bolivia received the new official name, Plurinational State of Bolivia.
2009 is re-elected on December 6 by the President Evo Morales, who received 64.08% of votes. The Movement for Socialism received more than 2/3 seats in the National Congress. On October 20, 2010, Bolivia and Peru signed the contract under which for 99 years of Bolivia the small site of the coastal territory for construction of port is leased.
That's Bolivia, which lost an outlet to the sea in 1883 as a result of defeat in war with Chile, later got 127 years access to the sea again.
2014, on October 12 for the third time is re-elected by the President Evo Morales, who received 61.36% of votes. The Movement for Socialism received more than 2/3 seats in the National Congress again. Political situation in the period of Evo Morales' government. During the campaign, Evo Morales, known as El Evo, promised to nationalize the oil and gas industry, to nullify contracts for development of oil and gas foreign corporations. The American ExxonMobil, the Spanish Argentina Repsol IPFI, the Brazilian Petrobras, the French Total, British Gas. To refuse payment of an external debt and to allow cultivation cooks.
Evo Morales, the native of peasants, Aymar's representative, one of the Indian people, largest in South America, Fidel Castro and Hugo Chávez's friend, constructed the election campaign on patriotic slogans, flaying the American imperialism and neoliberalism.
The political career of Evo Morales is closely connected with country fight. In 1997, being the leader of Association of Producers Cooks of Bolivia, he stood for the Congress to protect peasants from the authorities destroying plantations cooks. In Parliament I proved the ardent anti-globalist, having gradually passed to criticism of capitalism per fast.
Later Evo Morales headed peasants' uprisings for what he is deprived of the deputy mandate, but won still great popularity.
Bolivia, already along with Colombia and Peru, is now the main supplier of cocaine to the world market. In 2005, production of this drug grew in Bolivia by 1/3. According to the Union, the area of plantations cooks in the country is more than 23,000 hectares. El Evo says the cook, not as drug, it is harmless, and suggests to organize in Bolivia production of soft drinks, chewing gum and soaps on a basis cooks. The United States administration is extremely anxious with similar initiatives. Morales expressed the relation to this problem in an interview to the Russian channel Vesti.
Mr. President, explain me one thing, please.
Here in Russia, in your policy, many don't understand something. On the one hand, you just called a drug traffic the main internal enemy of Bolivia, and in the first visit to Moscow signed the Convention on Joint Fight Against this Evil with Russia. Earlier you had such agreement also with the USA. But you, being before the leader of labor union of those someone grows up to the cook when became the president, the ambassador of the USA from Bolivia was sent, and the agreement on fight against drugs with the USA was terminated.
So what precisely your political position after the cook?
First, leaves cooks in their natural state is the one more agricultural plant. Medical and edible. There is no harm to human health from him. Of course, quite another matter is when by means of chemical reagents from cooks receive cocaine. But we also don't protect cocaine, we also fight against it. And secondly, for the USA fight against a drug traffic, no more than a screen. And actually, geopolitics, an occasion to provide presence. And not only the ambassador, but also such organizations as CIA and Anti-Drug Office. But also this management actually is engaged first of all in active political intervention.
On October 20, 2019, presidential and parliamentary elections took place.
On November 10, 2019, Evo Morales, after the Massachusetts demonstrations caused by charges of falsification of elections, resigned.
General election in Bolivia took place on October 18, 2020.
The president of the country, the vice president, and all places as in the Senate and the Chamber of Deputies were at the same time elected. Results of elections replaced disputable results of elections of 2019, which were cancelled after the long political crisis. The victory in a presidential race was won by Luis Arce, the member of the same party that overthrown previous President Evo Morales. Republic. The head of state and the governments, the president elected by the population for one 5-year term. The president heads the government, approves the structure of the cabinet, is the commander-in-chief of armed forces. The candidate who collected absolute majority of votes, more than 50% of voices, is considered the electee. If the winner isn't defined, the parliament at a joint meeting of both chambers elects the president from 2 candidates who received a simple majority of votes. By a result of a referendum in January 2009 on change of the constitution,
introduction of privileges for Indians and introduction of state control over economy. The regular presidential elections and parliament took place ahead of schedule on December 6, 2009.
Morales acquired the right to stand for the second presidential term and won on elections a convincing victory. Over 60.01% of voices. 2 chamber parliament minus 36 senators and 130 deputies are elected for 5-year term. According to Economist Intelligence Unit, the country in 2018 was classified under the Index of Democracy as the hybrid mode. His diplomatic relations with the Russian Federation are established with the USSR on April 18, 1945. In Bolivia there are 6 more legal parties which aren't represented in parliament. In 1995 in the country the law on decentralization, which provided to regions, departments, considerable political and economic powers, is adopted. After coming to power of Morales, the population of so-called Half Moon, the 6 most developed regions of the north, south and east of the country,
departments Santa Cruz, Beni, Pando, Tarija, Cochabamba, Chuquisaca, where 58% of the population live and generally at the expense of oil gas production are made by 80% of GDP of the country, showed sharp discontent with the new policy of the central authorities on nationalization and redistribution of income in favor of poor mountain Indian regions. In July and December 2006 in the southern and east regions there took place municipal referenda and congresses of municipal councils, by results of which the aspiration to create new state education, the nation of plains of Bolivia, what the central authorities answered that they won't allow disintegration of the country all means, including military, is announced.
However, contradictions only accrued and developed into tough opposition between the left central authorities and the right regional opposition, up to incidental acts of violence. For a fixing of unity of the country and policy of redistribution of income by the central authorities in December 2007 the constitution, then the constitutional crisis which followed is changed. It is planned by holding the constitutional referendum, which, however, is postponed by the decision of the constitutional meeting because of a position of representatives of the developed regions.
In May and July 2008, despite acts of violence in departments of Half Moon, there took place regional referenda on which the majority of voting supported the widest economic and political autonomy adjoining on separatism.
The regional authorities announced a course towards creation of the sovereign new Republic Bolivia, the subject of international law with own legislative and judicial authority, the government, militia, a tax system and a budget, the right to conclude the international agreements.
The central authorities declared regional referenda unconstitutional and illegitimate and held in August 2008 a referendum on trust on which 60% voting supported Morales's policy at boycott of most of the population of rebellious regions.
In the territorial and administrative relation, Bolivia is divided into 9 departments, each of which, in turn, is divided into provinces. In total, there are 98 separate municipalities. According to new edition of the Constitution, all 9 departments are autonomous subjects.
The area of Bolivia is 1,098,580 km.
She takes the 27th place in the list of the countries on the area after Ethiopia.
Bolivia has no outlet to the sea since 1879 when it lost the coastal area Antofagasta in the Pacific War with Chile.
However, Bolivia has an entry in the Atlantic Ocean, down the river Paraguay, and on October 20, 2010 Bolivia and Peru signed the lease agreement according to which for 99 years of Bolivia the small site of the coast for construction of port is transferred. Thus, 127 years later Bolivia got access into the Pacific Ocean again. In the territory of Bolivia a huge variety of ecological zones is presented.
The western highlands of the country are located in the Andes, including the Altiplano Plateau. East low plains include big areas of the Amazonian tropical forests and Chaco.
The highest point of the country, the extinct volcano Sayama, 6542 m, located in department of Oruro. Lake Titicaca is located on border of Bolivia and Peru. The largest unisaline soil in the world is located in a southwest part of the country, in department of Potosi. The largest cities of Bolivia: La Paz, El Alto, Santa Cruz de la Sierra and Cochabamba. Bolivia has overland borders with 5 countries. Argentina -832 kilometers, Brazil -3423 km, Chile -860 km, Paraguay -750 km, and Peru -1075 km. Bolivia, the underdeveloped agrarian state. DDD per capita in 2010, $4.8 thousand. The 150th place in the world. Unemployment -8.5%. In 2009. Is lower than the level of poverty -60% of the population. In 2006.
Bolivia possesses the second largest reserves of natural gas in South America after Venezuela and is rich with other minerals. Nevertheless, it remains the poorest state of the continent.
According to the IMF, below the poverty line there are about 70% of the population of the country. It should be noted the accelerated growth of minimum wage, considering that in the last decades, 1990th and odd. Minimum wage, the Bolivian worker, was the lowest in South America, lower than the 100th month.
For 2017, the minimum wage in Bolivia is higher than in Russia, Kazakhstan, Peru, Colombia, Mexico, and Venezuela.
Now Bolivia is the leading country in Latin America which within this decade increased real minimum wage without high inflation. Since 2018, the minimum wage in Bolivia makes B's 2060 $298.38. Agriculture 11% of GDP, 40% working. So, coffee, the cook, cotton, corn, sugarcane, rice, potatoes. Logging. Livestock production. Cattle, sheep breeding. The industry. 37% of GDP, 17% working. Extraction of tin and oil, the food industry, tobacco, manual crafts, clothes. The country has rich natural resources: tin, gas, oil, zinc, tungsten, antimony, silver, iron, lithium, lead, gold, the wood, hydroenergy resources. Services industry minus 52% of GDP, 43% working. Export minus $8.08 billion. 2017. Natural gas 32%. Zinc ore 17%. Gold 13%. Soy and soy meal 5.5%. Tin, lead. The main buyers: Brazil 17%, Argentina 15%, South Korea 7.1%, India 6.8%, the USA 6.7%. Import minus $9.37 billion. 2017. Machines and the equipment 26.7%. Vehicles 17%. Chemical goods 11%. Products of metallurgy 9.8%. Oil products 4.4%. Consumer goods, including clothes, footwear, products from paper, etc. The main suppliers: China 21%, Brazil 16%, Chile 11%, the USA 7.5%, Argentina 7.5%. Population minus 11. 6 million. Assessment for 2020. Annual gain minus 1.44%. Fertility minus 2.48 births only woman. Average life expectancy is 67.6 years at men, 73.4 years at women. Ethno-racial structure: Metis of 68%, Indians of 20%. In the main Kwaikyo and Aymar. White 5%. Descendants of the Russian conservatives live. Languages minus 37 official state languages. The first place in the world by quantity. Spanish 60.7%, Kwaikyo of 21.2%, Aymar of 14.6%. Other languages of 3.6%. Religions: Catholics of 77%, Protestants. Evangelic methodologists, the Assemblies of God, etc. 16%, faithless and other 7%. Literacy minus 96.5% of men. 88.6% of women, by data for 2015. 97.5% of men, 92.5% of women. On a census of 2012. The healthcare is at very low level, malnutrition and diseases are widespread. National holidays. On April 9, the Constitution Day. On June 24, Interamian Day of Indians. On August 6, the Independence Day. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.